The National Football League is nothing without the players. That's the only thing you got going for you, is that you're a player, and that if you don't go out there and play on Sunday, the game will not go on. 26, 35, 100 owners cannot entertain 60,000 fans and the millions of people on a Sunday afternoon. It's the players.
The game of football is a great sport, and throughout its storied history, the game has grown. But the great men that have played this game also understand it's a business. And winning in this business takes more than being tough on the field. It takes a union of men that must band together to protect their health, to protect their rights, to protect their families. And history has taught us that this union is only as strong as the players who lead it. This union is a brotherhood of men who sweat and bleed and sacrifice on the field, but also a courageous fraternity who battle off the field to provide safety, financial security, and freedom to its members. We are more than just a game. We are a union.
We are a brotherhood.
We are the NFLPA.
We are the NFLPA.
It began with the simple premise: clean socks and jocks. The men who formed the NFLPA in 1956 wanted football owners to provide clean and safe equipment. With one rallying cry, the voices of the many who played the game of football were now heard.
This league was built by guys who played in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s.
You have a union that basically started because players were tired of coming to work where the team hadn't washed their clothes, didn't provide them with what they believed were the basic necessities. And going to the National Football League, a lot of those players in the 50s came into a professional league that was worse off than their college teams.
Throughout the time, we've been able to do things as far as holding the NFL accountable.
We basically had no rights or protections because the owners dictated everything that you did, where you went, who you played for. I mean, when you signed a contract, you belonged to that team no matter what.
There were no minimums when I first came into the NFL. So whatever you negotiated with that particular team is what you got. That could be 10,000, 20,000, 100,000. There were no league minimums at the time.
Most of the guys that played at that time had to have a second job. I worked at Northern States Power Company.
The pre-free agent era, you stayed with one team and that was it. And you were dictated, hey, this is your wage, this is what you're doing. If a guy asked for his release, he was asking for a release from the NFL. It wasn't from their team.
Take Detroit's Bill Radovich, who in 1946, to be closer to his dying father in California, was denied the opportunity to play for a team in Los Angeles. When he stood up and fought back, he lost his job and was barred.
The only strength a player has today to exist and get his fair share is to have a union or an association that goes to bat for him and support them every way he can.
And although the NFL had been around since 1920, there wasn't a strong organization to back the players.
It was tough to get organized because we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of support. We were battling the owners. There were some real heroes in the early days that stepped forward.
No hero emerged greater than John Mackey, Baltimore's tight end, who fought and won in court against the Rozelle rule, which limited free agency.
Here he is with 15, 16, the most powerful men in the world, negotiating a deal to protect the union, to protect the players. He's by himself, so they're strong-arming him, and he's just not going for it. I mean, this man had the type of integrity and courage that you don't see in these days right now, but that's what it took to start that union.
For our players who stand up even to today, if you stand up and fight the National Football League, their most diabolical and easy way of getting back at you is to punish the player. You take John Mackey, for example, 5-time All-Pro. In 1970, he becomes the first president of this union. In 1971, he loses his job.
We stand on the shoulders of those guys who came before us only to make the foundation stronger for those that come after us. When I think about guys like John Mackey and guys that fought for things that we take for granted today, and you can't move forward without knowing where you came from.
Even though in 1976 we won a decision that said that the players were free agents, it was a hollow victory because we couldn't even enforce the decision that we won. We were completely out of money. We didn't have support of the players involved in it. Management understood what free agency really meant, and once that happened, they took it back from us.
How many people are willing to strike to achieve percentage of the growth? Stand.
strikes in 1982 and 87, under the leadership of executive directors Ed Garvey and Gene Upshaw respectively, gained attention to the players' cause, but free agency was still not a reality.
For a lot of guys at this time, it's a given, because that's the way things are. But things have not always been that way. What happened in the past, what happened in the 80s, what happened in the 90s, why we're able to go out and shop our talents to different places now. That was not a given. They didn't just wake up and say, well, you know what, we want to give these guys an opportunity to be free agents. Now, that had to be fought for in court.
Not only in our history, but you look at the history of working men and women in this country, you only make strides when you can work together as a team.
The unity of our players is really the only strength that we have. It's really the only strength that any union has. That's what you saw in many of the past work stoppages in our league, is the players weren't able to stick together and they lost.
It wasn't until 1993, led by the NFLPA and Hall of Fame defensive lineman Reggie White, that the union finally attained the elusive goal of free agency, giving players the right to shop their services on an open market.
I had a chance to leave Buffalo, go to Atlanta, and in one swoop of a pen, make as much in that 15 seconds of signing than I hadn't made almost in 9 years of being in Buffalo.
With free agency in hand and players free to play where they wanted, the next 2 decades focused on protecting players and their families through the NFLPA's benefits program.
Something that we all take for granted, picking a doctor of your choice, looking at your medical records, getting a second medical opinion, deciding on surgery. You didn't do that. When I was playing, they decided which doctor you saw, when the operation was, and that was the end of it, with no discussion. That's all been changed.
Having a family and having kids, being able to clearly understand my benefits, because as much as the money is a great, part of it, we've done such a good job in negotiations of putting together some great benefit packages that players are still going to be well taken care of, and their families are going to be taken care of if something happens to them.
I think it gave guys more of a sense of security, knowing that if I am to get hurt or injured, that there is someone there to fight for me, and I'm not just going to be by myself.
And there was little or no thought about player safety back then, because there was no studies done, or there was no information about the side effects of a concussion if you went back in the game. We didn't think about the possibilities of long-term effects.
Right now, with the research going on at Harvard, they're making just valuable efforts to really get into it and really learn about it.
There's a lot of goals, and advancing the science, advancing the research, coming up with treatment protocols, finding a way to make sure that guys that come into this game, it's a blessing to play this game, it's a blessing to have the opportunity to play in this league and to do what we do, but we need to make sure that when guys do leave this game, because it is a violent sport, that guys are taken care of.
I think as far as health and safety is concerned, we're headed in a much better direction than we ever were before. As more and more research came out about the dangers that could be caused by head trauma, we really took it upon ourselves as an obligation to not only protect the players that were in the league now, but protect the players going forward.
The thing that the NFLPA is working towards and that we've been researching the most is how do we protect our guys as best as we can. As a father of a son who plays football, I want the game to be in a good position if he gets the opportunity to play. I most of all want it to be safe. I want the rules to be in place, that player safety is the #1 priority of the people running the game of football. And I feel like I have opportunity to do that here through the NFLPA.
And with those benefits, the NFLPA has continued fighting for rights, focusing on the health and safety of players, and making sure that during the season, as well as the off-season, every measure is taken for the safety of players.
The injury rate in the National Football League is 100%. Last year, for example, we suffered about 4,500 injuries in the National Football League. We only have 1,800 players. So the simple math tells you that this is a game not where there's the possibility of you being hurt, but the reality that you will be hurt. Changing the idea of it from a game to a workplace was something that was significant.
When you cut down on all the contact that we have, the head-to-head contact, things like that, I think that helps you, heal up faster, and it also allows guys to be safer going into the season. You're not going into the season as banged up as you were before with two-a-days and with the long off-season workouts.
And year-round, every player benefits financially from NFL Players, Inc., the marketing and licensing arm of the NFLPA, charged with protecting group licensing rights and generating income for every NFL player.
During the time when I played, if you saw anyone walking around with the jersey on, even whether it was a t-shirt that said LA Rams, you knew that they were part of the LA Rams, or they were a family member of somewhat. Now the business has changed so much until it's now commercialized. Teams can market uniforms and players can market themselves, whereas during that time, they didn't want you to market yourself at all.
When it comes to the business of football, you have to be tough both physically and cohesively, but you have to also be extremely strong economically. Players, Inc. is really the engine that drives this train.
They have been a great marketing tool for us as players to understand that we are valued. No matter who you are, no matter if you're one of the best players in the league to a guy just walking in the door, there is some value to you as a football player. This wasn't born from some, business people trying to take advantage of players. This was born from players.
Anytime you see that symbol, when you're on a video game, something, you know that these guys are working behind the scenes, working hard to make sure we get the money and the things that we deserve for, using our images and using our likeness.
They always look for every single area that they can expand on, and not only from a profit for the players, but also just from getting their likeness out there, getting their message out there.
You have to be able to think of yourself when you enter any professional sport, yourself as a brand, and that brand model. How do you present that? How do you market that? And there's so many different outlets, and I think NFL Players, Inc. helps explore those and expand those things and gives you those opportunities to explore even further.
One of the things that we decided to do is to put on our own collegiate all-star game. Building that brand, making sure that brand stands for something like integrity and safety, as well as courage, sacrifice, and teamwork, is incredibly important, not only for the players of today, but certainly for the people who will come after us.
Despite the longest run of labor, peace, and prosperity in all of sports, the owners were not satisfied with the deal they signed in 2006 and unanimously voted to lock out the players in 2011. This was an attempt to reverse years of gains by the players and the NFLPA in wages, benefits, and working conditions.
When the owners took the stance to lock us out, you can't go to work, it wasn't a game anymore. It wasn't just a game of football, it was real life business.
We were informed the whole time. As soon as I came into the league, I remember having meetings and talking about the lockout will happen. We have to prepare for it, and just being knowledgeable and knowing what was going to happen and what we had to do next, that was huge for us.
We were fortunate enough to have an insurance policy to protect our guys financially in the event of a work stoppage. It's definitely kind of a David and Goliath thing. The league is big and we're matched up against billionaires. Our only bit of leverage was how long we could outlast them. So it worked twofold. Not only did it embolden our players to be able to stand strong, to some degree it let the owners know that we meant business and they no longer had the upper hand.
It's unfortunate that they have to happen at all, because as the players and as a union, we want to play. We want a fair workplace just like every other place.
But under the leadership of new executive director DeMaurice Smith, the players banded together and met the owners eye to eye, avoided missing work, and established a new CBA, which provides even more gains for current and former players.
This is a players' union, and for me coming in, obviously it was a tremendous opportunity, but I got to follow in the footsteps of Gene Upshaw. I mean, I'm not sure any executive director, any leader could ever ask for anything more than stepping into an organization that was already strong, had a reputation for fighting.
Over the history of the organization, there was never a player in the negotiating room. And so when D came in, he goes, if I'm going to do this, you're going to do this. The players are going to deliver the message. And that's what we did.
I feel it was a real defining moment, especially having players at the bargaining table. And I give a lot of credit to D. Smith for really empowering us as leaders, as an executive committee, to be present and to be involved and to have a really strong voice.
Over the last 14 days, we've culminated a process that began 2 years ago.
I've been involved with the Players Association for 7 years now, and so this was the first time that I felt like the players were really at the advancement of the negotiation part, that it wasn't about the lawyers, it wasn't about management, that the players were leading the cause.
When it's all said and done, I hope we can all say
We gave our all. We did what was fair. We did what was right, and it was worth it. Because everyone before you have been willing to sacrifice. We can't be any different.